Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and I'm going to talk about two or three things today. One is, of course, I will have some announcements for you. Another one is I want to talk about some of the emails that I get from you asking me for doctors to contact. I'm going to tell you why we don't do that and give you some advice that I think would be helpful. And then I've written an article and I want to discuss it on CBD oil because that's a lot of questions coming in about that. So that's our agenda for this edition of Video Clips. So the first thing, let's talk about this misunderstanding about plant-based doctors, and people write here all the time. They want a plant-based physical therapist, a plant-based doctor, a plant-based OB-GYN, a plant-based pediatrician. And do you know somebody in Iowa or New York or Oregon or Iceland or Greece or all over? And I hope one day that we would grow to a size where we might have a directory of doctors we've trained where we could tell you to go to somebody specific. And where there are cases, when there is somebody specific, we're happy to refer. But here's the issue. First of all, just being a plant-based doctor, in our opinion, is not enough, because while it is so important for doctors to recognize the role of nutrition and the right type of diet that helps people get better, those of you who've been listening to me for a long time, and certainly those of you who are clients and members of Wellness Form Health, know that there's more to getting well, and there's more to healthcare, and there's more to prevention than just diet. All right, so that's why we don't have a list of plant-based doctors here. That's not really going to solve your problem. What we can do to help you, and that's really what this place is all about, is we can help you be armed with knowledge so that you can interact with whatever doctor you're in front of. We can't possibly cover all specialties in all areas of the world in any time soon. So, if you've been referred to an orthopedic surgeon because you have some issues, what we can do is provide you with information about when it is and is not a good idea to have orthopedic surgery and the types of questions you should be asking somebody like that. So anyway, my point is this: if you want to interact safely with the medical profession, it's what we do here. So let us help you with that, so that whoever you're visiting, and unquestionably some of you are going to fire doctors when you start discussing things with them, but what I have found is you would be shocked at how many doctors are open to a discussion with a reasonable person who sits down with evidence to talk about options and alternatives. Okay, so I think we have to be careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because we've all heard about doctors who aren't so nice and don't offer options and all that. But I can promise you, you will get better results if you use this approach, even from doctors who you think are not very open to it. So that's the first thing. Second thing, we have some new stuff that I'm really excited about, right? In addition to the packages, we always have packages for food over medicine and packages for diet and lifestyle in the fall. Chef Del now has menu plans. Menu plans, Chef Del style, because he's so fabulous with food. That's one of the wonderful things about working here, is we eat well all the time here at Wellness Form Health. It's delicious stuff. So he's doing a menu plan service, and it's $60 a month or $720 a year, but for the first 100 subscribers who prepay, they get it for $199, so you save $521. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I'm going to be teaching a new course starting August 14th called Diet Fiction. It's based on the movie of the same name and the book, which I co-authored with the producer of the movie, Michał Suwicki, who's an amazing, amazing film producer. If you saw Food Choices and loved it, you're going to love this film and this book. And so here are some of the things that we're going to cover in the course: how our history as a species predisposes humans to gain weight, why emotional eating is a natural response for many people, how dietary perfection sets people up for failure, strategies for breaking any bad habit, including poor dietary habits, the truth about diet plans like keto and grain-free and paleo, and how to change your size in your life permanently. And if you decide to take this course, I'm going to give you a free autographed copy of the book when it becomes available this fall. And then, last but not least, so many people email me questions, and you guys know I try as hard as I can to get back to you, but some of the things that you want to ask me would require me to type a chapter of a book in response, and I can't do it. So I think sometimes dialogue is good. I think often dialogue is good. So I'm starting a new Conversations with Pam series. There will be 18 of them a year, 6 during the daytime, 12 at night. And you can participate in these programs. If you're a concierge or a annual plan or professional member, you're already getting this service free. Okay, so you don't have to worry. You've already taken care of and you've been participating in these programs. But if you're not and you would like to join a conversation and ask questions about anything ranging from GI health and probiotics to I'd like to help other people, how do I go about it, to here's what I heard in the news and why is everybody saying the keto diet's great and all that sort of thing. We're going to have these discussions 6 times during the day for 90 minutes and 12 times at night for 90 minutes. And if you want to sign up for the series, I'm going to do the same thing as Dell, only I'm going to offer $99 for the first 100 people, and then after that it's $299. So if you're interested in any of that, pampopper@msn.com. Send me an email. All right, on to the CBD oil issue. So I get a lot of emails about this, so I thought it'd be a good time to start looking into it. And we have a lot of members who are using it, who are concerned, good idea, bad idea, when, all that. So I'm going to give you some background information. Cannabinoid-rich hemp oil is used right now for a lot of people for medicinal purposes. They're expecting specific things to happen. So demand has increased a lot because a lot of the claims, and there's a lot of people wanting to buy it. And so this means that lots and lots of companies are producing it, because that's the way supply and demand works in our country. And so it's sort of like the wild, wild west out there with products, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So cannabinoids act on CB1 receptors in the brain and CB2 receptors, which are located throughout the immune system. And in this respect, this is why taking products that are derivatives of cannabis can be helpful. CBD is just one of over 80 active cannabinoid chemicals in marijuana plants, and the one that you might be most familiar with is THC, the main psychoactive ingredient in marijuana. It causes people to experience a high because it acts on the CB1 receptors in the brain. Now, CBD and CBD oil has little effect on these receptors in the brain, which is why theoretically you should be able to use it without having any cognitive symptoms as a result. Now, my plan is in the future to spend some time doing some research on the claims that are being made, but for purposes of this broadcast today and this particular article, I want to just address the issue of labeling accuracy, which should concern anybody purchasing these products. And I became much more concerned after doing some reading about it than I was before I started. So CBD is classified as a dietary supplement, which means that it's subject to very little oversight. There's a lot of debate about whether supplements should be subjected to more oversight. Different discussion for a different day, but this is just the way it is. Lack of regulation has resulted in a lot of variation between products, and analysis shows that a lot of products do not contain the ingredients as listed on the label. So for example, an analysis of 84 CBD hemp oil extracts purchased from 31 companies in the United States showed that 55% of the products were mislabeled. 26% of the products contain less CBD oil than was listed on the label, with some containing less than 1% of the content on the label. Now, when you're dealing with something that has so little of the active ingredient in it, the good news is that you're unlikely to hurt yourself with it, but the bad news is if you were taking it for some therapeutic purpose, the bottom line is that it can't possibly have a positive effect on anything if there isn't anything in it. Now, on the other hand, and this is more concerning, some products contain significantly more CBD than shown on the label, and in some cases had enough THC content to induce intoxication or impairment, particularly in children. Now, this is not the only study that has shown this type of discrepancy. The International Center for Cannabis Therapy tested products sold in Europe. 20 out of 29 products tested had dangerous levels of cancer-promoting polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. But that's not the worst part. 6 out of 10 CBD products tested did not list any THC on the label at all, even though the products contained it. This is concerning for anybody who is required to be tested for drugs as part of their job. So think about, for example, airline pilots or people operating heavy equipment, or someone who might be subjected to a drug test in response to a traffic violation. 25% of the products tested would result in the user exceeding the permitted level of plasma THC while using the recommended dose, and then for an additional 10% of the products, the THC limits would be exceeded if the person took the maximum dose stated on the label. One research group looking at all of this expressed a lot of concern, and I think that what they wrote says pretty much how I feel about this. CBD products are not produced under the guidance of good manufacturing practices and are not subject to regulations governing labeling, purity, and reliability. In other words, currently there is no guarantee of consistency between products or even differing lots produced by the same manufacturer. Without independent testing of CBD products for content and purity as well as bioavailability, testing of specific products uncertainty surrounds the use of available CBD products in routine clinical settings. Uncertainty is the key word here. Now, the labeling concerns are bad enough, but there are some side effects that somebody should consider, as is the case with anything that has an effect. You can't manipulate one thing in the body without manipulating something else. There's going to be a side effect. And the known side effects for CBD include anxiety and depression, psychosis, nausea, vomiting, drowsiness, dry mouth, dizziness, and diarrhea. So the bottom line is I urge caution regarding the use of CBD oil at this time. The decision to take any drug or supplement should be based on an evaluation of the risks and benefits, and because of the labeling discrepancies, it is virtually impossible to come up with a list of risks and benefits from which you could make some type of reasonable evaluation because you really don't know what you're taking. So I'm going to leave it at this for right now because, as I mentioned, I think a whole other research project is getting into the claims and figuring out whether or not they're valid. And then at some point in time, if this is going to be used for therapeutic purposes, we've got to be able to identify products that we know contain the right amount of CBD in order to have an effect. So I'll be back to you with more news on that. Stay tuned. It takes me a little while to get to things sometimes, but I promise I will dig in and I'll report on the rest of the story later. And just FYI, those of you who participate in my advanced study programs or would like to, this is where I pick books that I think you should be interested in, and I know you're not going to read them, so I prepare slide sets and classes. I think it's in September or October, we're going to study a textbook on cannabis. Because more and more people are interested in this. So that may be, I might create a few video clips out of that material. But if you'd like a detailed discussion, check the concierge schedule and advanced study schedule, and that might be a couple of workshops that you want to participate in. All right, well, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.